So, like I was saying, as a human being, you really don't need very much. Um, you don't need to have your own room. You don't need to eat gourmet food. You don't need a fast car, or a nice car, or a certain sweater or dress or any of that shit. You don't need any of that. Really, you don't need any of that. You don't need to go to a restaurant. You don't need a birthday cake on your birthday. You don't need any of that stuff. As a human being, what you need is enough to stay alive, to survive, and we're social animals. We need our community. We need our community. We need to be with our kin. That's what we need. We don't need more than that. The reason that the credit system in the United States is so big and people get into so much debt in this country, all right, and the reason that credit is so important in this country is because we lead lives in this country of social scarcity. Because we value each other based on how much people have. And people spend money that they don't have on stuff they don't need in order to get accepted by others. Men spend oodles of money trying to be loved and accepted. What they really want is not that Dodge Charger. It's not that $1,000 pair of shoes. It's not that luxury apartment that's costing them $2,000 a month. What they want is they want love. They want to be someone that they can share their experiences and moments with, positive and negative, and love. That's what they want. What they want is to be accepted for who they are. For them to be able to be vulnerable and share who they actually are with someone and connect. But they know subconsciously in this society, no one's going to listen to them unless they appear a certain kind of way. So that's why they spend all that money. And that's why they suffer if they have a lack of money. And they lose some of that stuff. Not because that is going to cause them to suffer, because that's going to affect their ability to get something that they need emotionally, or they feel they need emotionally. And that's why the credit system in America is so big. Women spend oodles of money to look pretty because they want to be accepted for who they are. And they feel they need to do that. I will argue it's worse with men, but it goes both ways. Even outside of romance, even outside of relationships. It is, as a society, people, we value each other and view each other based on how much money there is. There's a lot of social classes in America. You have and we call them classes, lower class. There are certain jobs that we'll call low-class jobs. Upper lower class, middle, there's middle lower class, bottom class, middle class, there's lower middle class, upper classmen, the rich. In most parts of the world, you have the rich and you have the poor. There is no in between. In the United States, you have a lot of in between. And so there's a lot of social classes that exist. And everyone's trying to be as high up on the hierarchy as possible. And it's not just economically. Yes, you have the economic classes. You got other vast aspects of those classes. And they manifest themselves in the way in which, we dress, in the kind of vehicles we drive. For instance, let's say that a man decides to get a scooter and drive a scooter. There's an element of shame attached to that. oh, if you're a man and you're driving a scooter, that means you're gay. Even though in most parts of the world, everybody drives a scooter. You could be a heavyweight champion. All right, you could be fucking Muhammad Ali. But if you're living in Nigeria, you're probably going to be riding on a moped. It's just a very cheap, very practical, efficient way of getting around. It really it is. It's gas mileage, the fuel economy, the maintenance, the ease of parking, you name it. You don't even need a license. You don't need registration for that thing. It's like a bicycle that you just can't ride on the sidewalk. A moped, a scooter, if you're broke, it'll save you a lot of fucking money. It may not be the safest thing to take on the road, but it'll save you a lot of money. Yet in America, if a man is riding a scooter, he's called gay. There's oh no, you got to be riding a Harley. You got to be riding a faster bike. So what do men do? They go and spend money on something they don't need. No, don't get me wrong. I love Harleys. I love sport bikes. I love motorcycles. But do I need to have a Harley? No. Do I need a sport bike? No. Would I like it? Sure. But if I can't afford it at the moment, do I need it? No. Same thing with cars. Same thing with all of that shit. Housing, where you live. Shit, living in an RV, living in a fucking mobile home is cheap as hell. But that doesn't look like stability. That doesn't appear as high class as. Oh, no. You gotta be living in a. You got to be living in a house. You got to be living in an expensive apartment. You got to be spending $2,000 a month in order to be considered acceptable. Otherwise, you go into another class, and then you're going to be interacting with people in that class. The other class thinks those people in the other class are inferior. And that's the way that it works in our society. That's why the credit system in our society is so big, because people spend money not because they want those things as much as they want to be loved. They want to be heard. They want to be able to share with someone who they actually are, and they see that they believe that is the gateway and the key to unlocking that ability. That's the reason that they spend all that money. Now, don't get me wrong, all those things are nice to have. Don't get me wrong, all that shit's enjoyable. But that stuff is short-lived enjoyment. In and of itself. Don't get me wrong. If you're, depending on who you are, a motorcycle can be a life-changing experience. But, it can be a very soulful experience. But most of that shit, luxury apartment doesn't mean shit. I can say that from my own experience because I've had, not a luxury, but it had 9-foot ceilings. It had a washer and a dryer inside. It had a lot of shit. It was a good apartment. Not perfect by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, but it was good. And I had that. But did it in and of itself make me happy? No. Now, the freedoms that I had when I was living there, I enjoyed that. But what I would really enjoy most about an apartment, other than like having freedom, is being able to share it with others, share it with those that I love. That's what I really enjoy. That's the most important, otherwise, if I just need a place for myself, I'll rent a basement from somebody. Cheap. Why the fuck spend so much money on something? If you're going to spend all that money, then you have to work a lot more. Now, you may have freedom, but you have much less time to be free. So you really don't have freedom. Well, yes, that's about the credit system. That's what this country is. That's why the credit system in this country is so big. Is because people spend money they don't have on stuff they don't need because they want to be accepted and loved for who they are. And in the end, a lot of them, they don't end up getting loved for who they are. They get loved for what they have. And then that creates anxiety over losing that possession. So if someone is getting evicted from their apartment, most of the suffering that is caused by the eviction isn't caused because of the fact that they're losing their apartment and they have to sleep in their car and their credit gets fucked up. It's because they're going to be, those that seemingly loved them and brought them moments of joy are going to disappear from their life because they didn't love them. They loved what they had. They loved their apartment, not the owner of the place.